All right, so again, hello everyone. We are very excited to be launching the second phase of the DPCH with sessions that will help you implement your ideas and your solutions. Congratulations again for making it through phase one. And as Goxel sent you on the Slack, you all earned your certificates, but you are even more special because you are continuing to the next level. And this is what we really need to be seeing all the time. So just again, as a reminder, please, I would love to see your team numbers in addition to your first name in your name. And all right, and today we are going to be talking about the theory of change. So the theory of change is really very important in social innovation and social entrepreneurship. It is a great framework to help us really think in a better way and to make us outline the steps that we need in order to arrive at our desired goal. So I will share with you some slides at the beginning. And I do have some quick exercises, I would say, for us to do and talk about every single aspect of it.
Now your voice is lagging a bit.
Okay, so shall I switch?
Yes.
All right, just give me a few seconds. So I'll switch to 4G to make sure you hear me well. Okay, so I hope it's better now. And I'm gonna be sharing my screen to start with a bit more details on the theory of change, what it is, how we should think about it. And as I said, I have a few exercises for you to do in the main room because we can hear from you because we don't have a lot of teams anymore. And then at the end of the session, if we have more time, we will have a breakout room as well. All right. So I would really start off by explaining to you more about what the theory of change is, why do we use it, what it stands for, who should use it, when you can use it, and how to use it. And of course, we're gonna dwell today on the how for some time because after today's session, we expect you to start working with your team on really developing your own theory of change, which if you go to your mural team links, you will find that we have now a few additional things that were added there on theory of change and on the social model, social business canvas, which we won't talk about today, but we will talk about it in our next session. So I'm going to start with why we talk about the theory of change. The importance of this is that the theory of change really helps us think about the purpose of what we're doing. All right, so it's super important that we always understand or have a clear idea of why we're doing something, not just what we're doing, all right, or how we do something. It's important to have the why to be very well defined in your social innovations and social enterprises. And remember, guys, we should always remember the 3 T's that we are focusing on in this program, right? The ta'aruf, ta'awun, and tarahum. So it's very important to understand why am I doing this. So and here it would really help me if I get one of your team to contribute and tell me very briefly, like in 1 or 2 sentences, what you're doing. All right, so because I wasn't really involved in the facilitation process, so I'm gonna be learning from now on about your actual project. So I need a volunteer. Maybe somebody can raise their hands so that we take a tangible example from the audience. So who would like to raise their hands? So I just need to hear from you about what you're doing, like in 1 or 2 sentences. What's your project about? Who would like to volunteer? Shall I pick someone? Ali, Muhtadin, would you like to share? Do you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I really need one example. So we're all clear. Omar, would you like to go? Omar Musalli.
Hello, can you hear me?
So those who are not responding, hi Omar. Those who are not responding, like they're present, but they're not present. Omar, do you want to share?
Omar mentioned in the chat that he is outside. He is really sorry, he's outside and it's very noisy. That's why he can't talk.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm just gonna try to pick someone else. So Nisa Hussein from Team 15, would you like to share in 1 or 2 sentences what your project is about?
Hi, can you hear me?
Team 15.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yes. So our team.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so our team's project is it's a blockchain-based platform to enhance the socioeconomic conditions of refugees in Jordan. So we're using blockchain-based technology to create a platform. Or actually, our platform is website-based.
Okay, so Nisa, your example is great because you fell into the trap that everybody usually falls in. And if you look at the golden circle on the slide, you told me first what you're doing and then how you're doing it, but you never told me the why. Why are you doing this, Nisa? Why are you building like a blockchain technology platform?
Oh, I said to enhance the socioeconomic conditions of refugees in Jordan.
Okay, so this should be your focus. It shouldn't be a secondary part. Okay, so can you very quickly try to rephrase it, starting with the why, and then you tell me the what and the how? Can you give it a shot?
So I should start with, in order to enhance the socioeconomic conditions of refugees in Jordan, we have decided to build a blockchain-based platform. Is that better?
Okay, but still I'm not clear about the how. So you covered the why, the what. How are you gonna, like, will this like improve their conditions, as you mentioned?
Okay, I think my team member can help me out there. Natalia?
Okay, it's fine. We don't have to spend too much time. You're gonna have more time to really reflect on this, okay? But it's very important that we know this, like we know the why, we know the how, we know the what, and most importantly, start with the why. Don't start with the what. Okay, I think
Yeah,
I
but
had
she said
another
it-
hand.
Sorry, I'm from Team 15 and I'm Natalia. She said it to enhance the socioeconomic conditions. And we started with the why.
Yes, no, I mean, after you rephrased it, yes, you started with the why. Keep in mind, you should always start with the why, because at first you said like you directly talked about blockchain at the very beginning, like you were telling me what you're doing. And this is a common, like, it's a common thing. It's not just you, like, don't feel bad about it. Everybody does that. But yeah, we're here to tell you that because you are building an impactful solution, because your aim is not just commercial in nature, you have to elaborate on your why, and you have to make sure that this is clear in your message. I think Christelle had her hand, if I'm not, was it Christelle or?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello,
Christelle.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna say the phrase, I think that due to the current economic crisis, I created a platform for the farmers by linking them with agriculture engineers to achieve their goals in a more efficient and sustainable way.
Okay, so you told me the problem first, but here the why is your purpose. Okay, so it's very important that you know your problem, but what we mean by why here is the objective or the purpose. So it's actually also you have to reverse things around. So start with how you envision to create impact, or how are you gonna change the farmers' lives. So try just to start with your purpose.
So linking them with agriculture engineers is not enough.
No, this is your how. Okay, you are linking them, but you first started due to the economic crisis. So the economic crisis is the problem. It's not your why, right? It's maybe why is this important right now, but it's not why you're doing this. You're doing this because we need to enhance, right? Their livelihoods, their conditions. Oh, so can you start with the bigger purpose? What's your bigger purpose?
The ultimate goal is to reduce the effect of fertilizers on the global warming. So it's the bigger how, the bigger why, the ultimate goal. So maybe I will start with it, then introducing the farmers and the agriculture engineers, and then telling the how, right?
Exactly. So here what the golden circle is suggesting is that for you to stand out, I mean, and we're not talking about the pitch. And the pitch, of course, you start with your problem, etc. But if you just talking to someone and telling them what you're doing, for this to be interesting, for you to stand out, for your project to really be different than what they hear on a regular basis, you have to say, like, why am I different? Because I am working towards this goal. Okay, because then again, because you are impact driven initiatives or startups or whatever you would like to achieve from this experience, it's very much impact driven, it's purpose driven. So you have to emphasize on the purpose, and this applies to all the teams. And this is like what the theory of change is trying to help us with. And this is why I'm here today talking to you about the theory of change, because we need to know what's the why, so we draw how to arrive there. If I don't know what's my bigger purpose, it's more difficult for me to stay on track. It's more difficult for me to come up with the smaller steps that will allow me to reach to that goal. But if I define it properly, then I can most probably be able to do things in a more systematic and a more logical way. Okay, so a lot of companies, a lot of corporations, a lot of organizations, they most of the time talk about what they do and how they do it, and they fail to tell us why they're doing what they're doing. And the golden circle here by Simon Sinek tells us that the why is at the core of the circle, and this is what you have to make sure you communicate in your messaging with your partners, with your employees, with your collaborators, and with everybody else. Okay, so the theory of change will make you reflect a bit more on your purpose, will make you, will allow you to create a strategic plan to achieve your purpose, and it will also increase the chances that you will arrive to that impact and have maximum impact. All right, so very, very quickly, the theory of change is essentially a comprehensive description and illustration of how and why a desired change is expected to happen in a particular context. Okay, so there's this purpose, and the theory of change will describe how I'm gonna get there, how I'm gonna arrive there. But at a very high level, we can start with the theory of change as an if-then statement. I'm going to give you an example from our work. When I founded Riyada for Social Innovation 3 years ago, I started it because I believed that if we equip the youth with the right skills on the technology and the entrepreneurship and the community level, then they will become the change makers and the social innovators of their communities. So that was my if-then statement, okay? So if we equip them with the skills they need in terms of the technology, entrepreneurship, and community, then they will become social innovators and change makers. I want you to think with your teams, okay, about your if-then statement. I don't know if you have WhatsApp groups or anything that you can communicate with aside from the Zoom meeting, or on Slack. Maybe you can quickly access your private channels on Slack. And I'm gonna give you around 5 minutes to come up with your if-then statement. It's not gonna be the final one, but it's very important that you take a shot at it right now. All right, is it clear what has to be done?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat, guys, and I'm gonna write it down in the chat. I need you to write down, and this is like a first draft. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, your if-then statement, okay, as a group. Okay, you have 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, we're gonna hear from, and it's like, it's a statement. It cannot be a paragraph, okay? So it has to be a one statement. And in 5 minutes time exactly, we will hear from every single team, okay, from the 12 teams, all right? So I'm gonna start my timer now.
Hello?
Yes, so we are doing a 5-minute activity where each group has to come up with their if-then statement. So if you do what, then what will happen? Okay, so in your project, what's your assumption? All right. Do we have any volunteers to start? Again, this doesn't have to be perfect, and I'm here to help you. And we're going to have the facilitation sessions that will also help you. But it's good to take a first shot here because I need you also to be engaged. So whenever you start thinking about your own project and its own purpose and your own goal, it will be easier for you to understand today what we're talking about. So I would like to start. Or shall we call names? It's my favorite hobby, guys, because I teach at university, so I start picking names and like seeing if they're there or not in virtual learning. Okay, Fatima.
Okay, so our sentence, it will be, if we give young people an interactive way to learn about heritage and culture, then it will boost their sense of belonging and preserve it.
Okay, can you repeat that again just to make sure I got it?
If we give young people an interactive way to learn about heritage and culture, then it will boost their sense of belonging and preserve it.
Okay, it will boost their sense of belonging. And what was the last word?
Preserve culture and heritage.
Okay, all right, so it's a combination of different words. All right, that's great, Fatima. So you know what's the problem and you know what needs to be changed, and you have put a plan to reach that goal, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's good. I mean, I hope the others were able to follow as well. So thank you for that. It's a very exciting project.
Thank you so much.
Team 15.
Hey, okay, for us, we will probably do something like this. If equal job opportunities are given to refugees and marginalized communities in Jordan, these refugees are more likely to be able to provide well for themselves and their families, thus resulting in reduced poverty and increased national economic growth.
Okay, I like your then, but the if for me is like I have a big question mark because like providing equal employment opportunities, like how do you think you can contribute to that as an initiative or as a business or as a solution basically? So because the if, it should be something that we can do, right? It doesn't, I mean, again, I come from Lebanon. I hope you understand this contextual maybe difference. Like usually our if, I would never say an if it has to be the government that has to do it. And again, because I live in Lebanon, we have a weak government and so on. Like we do not rely on the government to do these changes. But I mean, I hope it's different in Jordan. But are you planning to collaborate with the government or no?
Yeah, most probably we will need to have quite a number of partnering organizations and stakeholders.
Okay, so if that's the case, then yes, your if then statement would make sense. But if that's not the case, then you have to look at an if that you can achieve. Okay, so it's very important, and I hope that the rest of today's session will help you more in terms of creating a very realistic plan when it comes to what do I need to do in order to achieve my final goal. So your goal is amazing, and definitely it's very noble. We all agree that it's a very important goal, and of course, if we all agree on it, however, we need to put an if that we can work on. So I hope this is clear for everyone, but this is also good. Thank you, Nisa, for your contribution. Christelle, would you like to go next?
Okay. So if farmers start to reduce using fertilizers and pesticides intensively, then small steps toward climate protection will be achieved.
Okay, but okay, so but now you cannot again So remember the if I said like if we equip, I didn't say if they had the right skills. Okay, so what are you gonna do, Christelle,
the
to
farmers.
make sure that they will
Okay.
reduce their? So if what kind of, is it like awareness? Is it, are you equipping them with some tools, or maybe you want to plug this in somewhere? Also to make it a bit more realistic, because yes, we know that if they, but this is a behavioral problem that is a bit, يعني it's challenging. It's not that easy to change the behavior of farmers the way you're describing it. So this is why we need your intervention. So what can you very quickly, like just plug in 1 or 2 words to enhance this? If what?
If we help farmers, or if we link farmers to agriculture engineers or something like that.
Okay. So yeah,
Maybe
I think you
will
need,
comment.
yes, yes.
Okay.
But that's good. At least, yeah, you have it in mind. That I think it needs a bit of هيك يعني some working, and it will be better. But keep this in mind, because yeah, we cannot expect too much from like the farmers to do. We have to be there, like come up with this intervention, maybe give them some tools. I don't know. There are many ways to do it, but you have to highlight your role. Okay, what's your role in this thing? Great, thank you. Ayan, and which team are you?
Hi there. Did you say Ayan or team two? Did you say Ayan?
Yes, which team are you?
29.
Okay, you didn't go yet, right?
Go where?
Like share with us your if then.
Oh, I haven't shared yet, no.
Okay, can you do that?
Okay, so where our one is, if we raise awareness about gender-based violence, then we'll be able to reduce the statistics of violence against women.
Okay. Also here, it's important, I mean, it's good you mentioned raising awareness. Maybe it's important to mention the target group, the target audience, because, you know, I mean, when you want to raise awareness, if you are targeting, let's say, I don't know, children versus other groups, it's going to be a different approach. So maybe you want to tell me if we raise awareness for whom, like.
How long can it be?
I mean, not too long, but you definitely raising awareness by itself is very general.
If I say it fully, can you tell me if it's too long?
Okay, sure.
How to raise, oh, no, sorry. If we raise awareness using our app to women to marginalized women in Qatar, but mommy, I'm on the thing. It's okay. Sorry. If we use
That's okay.
If we raise awareness against gender-based violence using our app to women between the ages of 15 to 49 years old, we would be able to reduce the violence experienced by marginalized women.
Okay, no, I think it's not that long. No, it's fine. But it's, I mean, of course, if you're talking to somebody like, you know, very in a conversational way, you don't have to say maybe the age group, but I believe that saying that you're raising awareness of women is important, because otherwise, like, yeah, I like started thinking you're doing it at, you know, maybe, I don't know, schools for kids. So it's a totally different thing. So you want me to have the right expectation as a listener, as somebody who's learning about your project. So I don't think it's too long, but maybe if you don't have to specify the age range, like, you know.
Can we just say marginalized women? Would that be enough?
Yes, for now. I mean, for now. But of course, during the actual pitch, you have to talk about your target audience and their demographics. So you will use that again. Great. Thank you, Ayn, for sharing. Yes, I think it's good so far. Again, this could be refined with time as you go, as you develop your entire theory of change. Team 50, Ibrahim, would you like to go next? Ibrahim?
Yes, hello.
Hello. Can you share with us the if-then statement of Team 50?
All right. For our project, we say like if we achieve this project, that is our project, Syrian refugees living in non-organized refugee camps will have the ability like to be included into the health sector within those camps, which will brings them a sense of human and that of inclusiveness.
Okay, so again the then is good, but if the if is not, it's not good enough to say like if we could do our project, because we need to understand what your project is. So what are you doing in your project that you believe will make you achieve your then, like to improve the livelihood of the Syrian refugees and so on. So if what particularly you're doing, because there are so many interventions when it comes to Syrian refugees, but yours is different. So do you know exactly what you want to do?
Yes, like our project is basically about creating a system. Like we came about creating a website that will help us reach Syrians that are Syrians that within the health sector, that is nurses, doctors, and even students that are studying those courses that relating to health. And those students will have the opportunity to like render services to their fellow Syrians within those refugees camps. We realize that like where we are right now and looking at those camps that we targeted while doing our projects, we came across two different types of camps, one of which was those
Okay,
camps
so this is Ibrahim. We
Yeah.
can maybe talk later about all these details. I mean, for now,
Yeah.
I mean, you said a website, you said something about
Yes,
nurses' health. This is great. But what
yes.
are you doing specifically with these? Like, if we create a website for health care workers and nurses from Syrian refugees, but what are you doing on the website? Like, what kind of services are you providing them, or what kind of opportunities? Like, what does the website do?
So like basically we are trying to like connect Syrians from different part of the world that are within the health sector. We are basically trying to link them with those refugee camps that we have identified. Uh, in so doing, they will have the opportunity to like volunteer in rendering services to their fellow brothers and sisters.
What kind of services? Health services?
Health services, sorry.
Okay, so if we connect uh, health, like if we connect Syrian refugees in, you state the location, with volunteer health workers from the world who are willing to provide their services, then the Syrian refugees will their like health status or their livelihood will be better. Is this like it's not perfect, of course, but I mean, is this what you were trying to say?
Yes, exactly. That's the idea. That's the
Okay,
point.
so this is how you have to think about it. So, okay, if what we do, it should be specific. I mean, again, it should be something that we can do, not the government has to do it, because we're talking about your projects, your interventions, and not like what the government is doing. طيب, great. Thank you, Ibrahim, for that. I'm just checking. Cynthia, in which team are you? Cynthia Shammas?
I'm in team 45.
Okay, did you share with us or not yet? Did you share your if-then statement?
Yes, or my teammate Rima can also do that. Sorry. So if we can teach youth how to maintain their physical and mental health throughout the pandemic, they will be able to adapt to the current and future challenges more resiliently.
Okay, I'll just ask you to repeat it one more time. I think it's good. Just repeat it one more time.
Okay, so if we teach youth how to maintain their physical and mental health throughout the pandemic, they will be able to adapt to current and future challenges more resiliently.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think it's a very good start, honestly. I hope the others agree with me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that. So we have Maulana. Would you like to go next? Did your team go or not yet? Maulana, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes. So in which team are you?
team 49.
Okay. Did your team share with us or not yet? The if-then statement.
Our statement?
Yes.
Not yet.
Okay, can you do that?
If we can support jobless to fulfill their household needs due to their losing income, then we can prevent the increasing of poverty rate.
Okay, can you repeat it just one more time?
If we can support the jobless to fulfill their household need due to their losing income, then we can prevent the increasing of poverty rate.
Okay. Okay, that's good. But how do you like plan to support the jobless? Like do you have any specific plans?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Do you have like more specific plans when it comes to supporting the jobless? Like it's a good one, but it's very general. Okay, it has to be more specific to what you're doing. So I don't know if anybody from your team would like to support as well. Do we have any team 49 members with us?
Hello.
Yes.
I'm teammate.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
Gabby. Yeah.
From team 49. So basically, our project is an app to help jobless and their family to find their household needs like food or medicine. In other words, we're trying to support jobless to fulfill their household needs due to losing. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an app. What do they do? I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on this, but I just need you to understand that you have to be specific. So if we provide them with, what does the app, what kind of opportunities? Is it connecting them with people who have, who can maybe exchange? I don't know. What is the app doing? How do they use the app?
The app is connecting people who have something to share with jobless and their family to support them fulfill their household needs.
Okay, great. So if we connect the jobless with people who have resources to share regarding XYZ, then we will be helping them fulfill their household needs and preventing the poverty rate from increasing. Okay, so that is more specific than if you just say if we support them, because there are a million ways in which you can support them, but you have to be specific with your own solution. So, and your solution is connecting the jobless with other people who have resources and they are willing to share these resources, right?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Nermesh?
Yep. Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yes. Which team are you in?
Okay, I'm in the team 11.
Okay.
Okay. We have two if thens. Okay, so I'm going to tell you one. One is if the rate of unemployment among youths increase, then we need to provide a solution for them to reskill and upskill and direct them to available job opportunities on a common platform, which is website. Second, if salaries are being decreased, then we need to provide a solution for them to reskill and upskill to provide them stable financial income on the website.
No, no, you shouldn't tell me in the if what's the problem. You should tell me in the if what's your solution. Like if we provide this solution, then this is how we're preventing that problem. So it's the other way around. So if we are upskilling, this is how we should start through our website. So can you try to like reverse it?
Okay, sure. If we provide a solution for them to reskill and upskill and direct them to available job opportunities, then the rate of unemployment among youths will be reduced.
Exactly. Exactly. This
right.
is how it should be. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Narmesh. Great. So Raisa.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, which team are you in?
Team 30.
Did you go or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
so,
can you go?
Yeah, sure. So if we provide clean water to the women in our target community by using solar-powered water system, first of all, we will reduce, women don't have to walk long way to fetch water. Second, they don't have to use their own power by taking the water. And also we will reduce the rate of disease related water related disease in our community.
Okay, so the then part was very long and you divided it into 3 components. It's better to try to make it a bit briefer. So for example, you can say then it will be more convenient, money saving, and I don't know, better for their health. I don't know. So, but you cannot, like, it's too long in terms of an if then statement.
Okay.
But I think your if was clear, which is important. So the if is what you're doing, and the then is the goal. I mean, the goal is still a bit like you have broken it down into 3 different things. You have to try to wrap it up with less words and just to tell us what is this achieving. Okay, so even if it's a bit general, the then is fine if it's a bit general, but the if has to be a bit more specific. So just work on your then, which is the easier part, I would say. And now we'll talk more because this is your goal, this is your impact. So you have to also have it in mind all the time. Great, thank you, Raisa. Okay, so team 11, you already did. Team 24, did you go? Abdullah Ali?
Hi, no, we haven't gone yet.
Yes, can you
let me
share with
open.
us?
Yes. So if we equip students with the knowledge and experience to sustain trees as part of their education, then we will positively impact the environment.
Okay, that's a good one, but maybe your then is too broad. So maybe you would want to tell me then we will be maybe contributing to, I don't know, more vegetation or to just like a little bit more specific. It doesn't have to be super specific, but because like the environment is a very big thing. So you might want to just bring it down one level, not too detailed, but just like make it a bit more specific. But yeah, I think the if is very clear, which is what I care about right now. Thank you, Abdullah, for sharing.
Thank you.
Who else? Anybody didn't go yet? 46, Sabika, did your team go? Team 46?
No, our team didn't go. So our statement is as follows. If we equip schools with the right support tools to support diverse learners, then children with special education needs do not need to be left behind and can have the opportunity to be included in mainstream education. But I know the second part is a bit long.
No, but it's fine. I mean, I think, yeah, maybe we can say like no one will be left behind or something like that. You can make it shorter, but I think it's also a good one. So thank you about that. Anybody else? I mean, I didn't keep track of which teams did it. Tatiana, did your team go?
Yeah, my team is 24. Abdullah just said it.
Okay, great. So unless somebody didn't go, I'll assume that we covered everybody. All right, so I hope now it's clear, guys, what's the if-then statement, how it should be. I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna share my screen again to continue with the rest. And as it says here on the screen, people who use an if-then statement are 300% more likely to reach their goals. So it's always good for you to keep in mind the then, because this is the best way for you to keep working towards your goal in order to achieve it. All right, so always keep this in mind. Okay. All right, so who can use the theory of change and when to use it? Of course, the uses of the theory of change are very wide. It could be used by individuals, it could be used by organizations, by, you know, a team project like yours, a social enterprise like yours, a new initiative, an intervention, a nonprofit project, or a startup company, okay? Why do we use it is because it ensures the alignment between the stated mission and the initiative, project, or program. So what we're gonna be doing today is like, in this if then, I'm gonna break down my if into concrete steps in order to reach the then, which is my goal. So it really helps you to stay aligned between what you're saying you want to achieve or your goal and how you're doing this. In large organizations, they can apply the theory of change to their different projects to make sure that also there's alignment, it's all going into the same mission and the same vision. It allows for easier impact measurement. Definitely one of the biggest advantages of the theory of change is that it allows you to measure your impact, and it will help you, by the way, to create your social business model, which we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks' time. If you do this well, if you do it in the right way, defining your social business model will be much, much easier. And it aligns the team members to have one end goal, make them understand the different roles that they have in order to achieve that goal. And definitely it allows us to spot potential risks. We're going to talk about our assumptions and our underlying assumptions that we will outlay in the theory of change. And this will help us in going forward. So how to write a theory of change? I hope you all now have a problem that you have identified and you're working to address. And from the if-then statements that I heard, you have identified your problems really well. So that's a great first step. Second, we work out what we want to achieve. So this is our goal. So it's your then. Your goal is your then. And then we walk backwards. Now we're going to show you how to do it in order to get where I want to go. So my then is like the far-fetched goal. It's not going to take me 1 day to do, or 1 month, or 1 year. It will take many years of effort. So you all have to keep this in mind. It's a long journey. It's hard work. And if we were successful and lucky and hardworking, and we had the right team and we had the right partnerships, then yes, we might be able to make a real change in terms of the goal that we set to ourselves. The theory of change is very important that you explain your assumptions, and in one of the canvases on Mural, you have the chance to do that. And yeah, you're going to develop indicators to measure whether you have been successful or not. So this is what we call the logic framework or model, and I'm going to spend some time to explain to you the different steps. Okay, so as you can see, we have really two halves. The first one is your planned work. So the first two phases in this, number 1 and 2, are called your planned work. So this is what you intend to do. This is what you plan to do. And the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, okay, on the right-hand side is your intended results. So again, this is an if then, okay, if you can think about it. So if I do my planned work, then I will get my intended results. I'm going to repeat that. So if I do 1 and 2, I will get 3 and 4 and 5. Okay, so if I do my planned work, then I will get my intended results. This is how the if then statement helps you fill this logic framework or logic model. So sometimes, and this was written in the previous slide, we do this in reverse order, okay? But other times you can also attempt to do it in like from left to right. It's really up to you guys, but sometimes if you get stuck, it's really good to start from the other way around. So I'm gonna give you an example again from my if-then statement. So I said, my intended result or my goal is to create change makers and social innovators. So what do these change makers and social innovators do? They create social enterprises, they create change in their communities, they solve social problems, they create initiatives, innovations, solutions, etc. Very similar to what we're doing in this program. So this is my impact. This is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm thinking about. How do I achieve it? So how do I create more social enterprises? How do I create more people who are creating this environment of change and who are taking these problems that they face in their communities and creating solutions for them? This is my impact. It's a long-term thing. In order to get there, I have to have an intermediary outcome. Okay, so the impact is my long-term vision. I said far-fetched not to say that it's not achievable, but not achievable. I don't mean that. On the contrary, it's like a long-term goal. Okay, so its impact usually is not measured in 1 year time. It's impossible to have impact in a very short time. Impact is usually long-term. So social enterprises start like seeing, okay, some impact in like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years sometimes. So it's a long-term goal that you know will take time to be achieved. So this is your impact. Your outcome is more of a medium-term goal. So it's something that could be done on the medium term. So for example, they are engaging more with the community, they are building social initiatives, they are incorporated with community work, they are more interested in entrepreneurship, they are pursuing different programs, okay, that are aligned with this vision. Okay, but the impact, again, I'm going to try to distinguish between the two. The impact is they started creating their social enterprises and they started making this change in the world and they started solving the problems. So this is something that will take some time to achieve. In the medium term, they have started some community work, being engaged with local organizations, being engaged in entrepreneurship programs, social innovation programs. They have attempted maybe to start an enterprise. They are more involved in the community, etc. So I'm going backwards now. I'm going to go now to step 3. What's the output? The output is the short-term result. So the short-term result is that I have people who have the right mindset. I have people who are aware that social innovation is important in a world that is rugged and has like a gazillion problems. They know that they need to be responsible. They need to take the world's problems seriously. It's not enough to blame our governments and other people and, you know, baby boomers and the older generations about the problems. They know that they have a share to take and they have a responsibility and a role to play. So the output is that I have people who are ready to be integrated in this whole movement of social change. How are they ready? They have the right mindset. Why do they have the right mindset? Because they were subject to, now I'm going back to activities, they were subject to social innovation programs where they were initiated to this mindset. They gained certain skills on how to be responsible, how to be researchers, how to be lifelong learners, how to be empathetic, how to be design thinkers, how to be able to use human-centered design and really apply it in their life, basically. So this is my activity. So the programs, this kind of awareness, this kind of skill set that I'm giving them. And what do I need to do that? So I'm going back to inputs now. In order to do all of these programs, I need people, I need human resources, I need expert trainers, I need success stories, guest speakers, I need money, of course, I need a facility. If I'm doing this, in person, or if I'm doing it online, I need the technology, I need the platform to do it. Of course, I need time, I need partnerships, I need some maybe NGOs to cooperate with me, or some universities or some schools, depending on the age group that I'm targeting, depending on the type of programs that I am planning. So I did it quickly. So I walked backwards from impact to inputs based on my if-then statement. If I want to go again from inputs to impact, what I will say is that Riyadh for social innovation needs human resources, needs the right technology, the right platforms, needs, of course, some funding. We need time, we need partnerships, we need the expertise in terms of trainers, we need the success stories and the guest speakers who will be able to run social innovation programs for the youth, where they will gain the right mindset and skill set so that they are more engaged in their communities. So now I'm at the outputs. So we are graduating people who are more aware about their responsibility towards the world, how they can make change in the world. They have innovation skills, they have come up with a solution and they presented it to other people. And on the medium run, I know that these people will be more engaged in such programs. They will be more engaged in their community. They will attempt to start some businesses. And in the long term, they will become the social entrepreneurs of their communities. So this is my inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, impact. So I did it quickly, yet I hope that it is clear. Before I go, I just need to see what's on my next step. Okay, so this is another example. But here, I mean, the main difference is that in this Apaya case, they don't talk about the impact, which is very important. Impact is, as you said, is the long-term goal. It's your then. So it's very important to not miss your impact. You have to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about this anyway. So this is an example I found online from a social venture called Apaya. So Apaya has a mission to create dignified jobs for the poorest of the poor by building scalable businesses with investment and consulting support. Okay, so this is their mission. This is not the input. So if I go back, just to, oops. So this is the input. It's like what we need. Okay, so this is their mission, which is good, but I'm gonna tell you what they need for them to be able to connect the poorest of the poor with investment and consulting support. They need these kinds of support. So they need to have investors on board. They need to have consultants on board. They need people to build this investment and consulting support program. They need, of course, dedicated personnel. They need, if it's virtual, they need the right platform to do it, the right technology. If it's an in-person, they need maybe a center, a place, a mechanism. They need to manage their project. Of course, they need funding. They need partnerships, because if you think about it, how could Apaya reach these poorest of the poor? You need maybe NGOs to be on board to tell you, to make you reach these poorest of the poor, because maybe Apaya, like the founders of it, they don't know how to reach these people. Okay, and even if they do, they might know how to reach only one group of people, but how to reach other groups in that country or in that, I don't know, region. So we always need these partnerships in order to be able to reach them. And here I want you to think about the 3 T's. Okay, so again, what do I need in terms of input, whether it's ta'aruf, ta'awun, or tarahum? So ta'aruf is very important, because when I get to know my target audience really well, I understand what kind of needs I need, like what are the inputs that I need in order to be able to present them with an effective solution. So this is where ta'aruf comes into play. Ta'awun is where I am partnering with other institutions, other initiatives, other NGOs, or maybe the government or whatever it is to make this happen. So my connections, my collaborations, my partnerships are part of my inputs. And my knowledge, okay, the ta'aruf part, my knowledge of my target audience will help me to also understand what do I need, all right, in order to get to them. So when it comes to the activities here in Apaya's case, they are doing a screening and selection. So they have like some kind of application mechanism, let's say. So they have a screening and selection mechanism. So this is one of their activities. I don't know what's patient equity, but they have patient equity. And the third one, they have accelerator and deeper support. So they have these activities. Also here, guys, Ta'aruf helps us in determining what kind of activities we need. So again, you need to understand your target audience, what their problems are, what their pains and their gains, similar to what you did in the persona and the empathy mapping. And based on that, you will come up with these activities. Also based on your ta'awun or your cooperation and partnerships, you will know what are the activities that you can do and what are some activities that you want to leave out for now, because maybe you don't have enough resources or you do not have enough capacity to do them. So it's very important that I outline my activities. So in our case, for example, at Yada, we do hackathons, we do youth social innovation programs, we do acceleration programs. So these are some activities that we can list. When it comes to the outputs, so again, the output is the direct or the short-term result. So let's say in Apaya's case, it is how many people from the poor, from the poorest of the poor, who are being part of their programs. Okay, so this could be an output. It doesn't have to be it's irrelevant whether this program has significantly changed their lives or not. It's just an output. It's a short term and a direct result. So as long as I have one participant, that's an output. So they benefited from this program. Did it change their life or not? I will see it later on. In the medium term and in the long term results, or what we call outcomes and impact. So here in their case, in the output, they have profitable, self-sustaining and scalable enterprise, which I believe usually we don't put in the outputs. So usually we have this maybe as an outcome. And they have new job creations. Okay, so also for me, this is not an output. Usually outputs are just direct results. So they are on the short term. So maybe this is why they don't have impact, because there is this missing part, which is the outputs. It should be directly like how many people have benefited, how many participants, how many coaches I had, how many consultants. These are the outputs. When it comes to the outcomes, I'm going to read what they have and then I'm going to comment on it. Stabilize and increased income for job holders and job holder progress out of poverty. So this actually could be an impact. So I want to bring these people out of poverty. I want them to have a stable and more income. And I'm just going to leave you to read the result metrics for a bit, and I will plug in my laptop. Just give me a minute. All right. So as you can see in the resulting metrics, which you will be having to think about for your own projects and write down on Mural, and I will show you in a bit. Here they have, Apaya has like the metrics that they're going to be working with. So these are like all my measures of success. Okay, so I have a number of channels. What are the channels? Can anybody try to think with me what could be the channels they're talking about? What are the channels? Volunteers? Okay, I had a question in the chat from Rima. Does the output have to be always in human resources? No. It could be, for example, a number amount of US dollars given in awards. Doesn't have to be human resource. I just tend to give this example because I work with like capacity building and training. So almost always our outputs are human resources, like in terms of people, but they don't have to be Rima. It's really up to, it really depends on your own initiative. But it could be like the amount of microfinance given, the number of subscriptions on your app or platform. It could be the number of sprinklers you provided to farmers. It could be so many things. Okay. Yes, to the target groups, of course. Okay. Anybody has a guess about what is the number of channels here that we see in the resulting metrics? No, nobody knows.
What do they mean by channels?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. Like, what do you think it means? Because if you look at the one under, it's number of applicants. So the number of applicants are like how many people applied to this investment and consulting support program, right? But what do I need for people to apply? What do I need? I mean, how do
if it's gonna be online or like through employers or
how do I reach them? No, a channel is about how you reach. Okay, so it's how do you reach them? So for example, you can partner with the 10 different entities who will spread the word. Okay, they could be NGOs, it could be, I don't know, a ministry, it could be so many different things. And they will help you spread the word, because you as a social venture by yourself, you cannot spread the word to all the poorest of the poor in your region or area. You need the support of other entities. And this is what we mean by channels. And remember this word, because channels, you're going to see it again in the social business model canvas. So the number of channels is maybe how many partnerships I did in order to communicate this message about my program to the target group. The number of applicants, how many people applied. And here we're just having number, and yes, you're gonna have the number as well as a hash, but in your business planning, when you start executing on the ground, you have to say, my target is to have 10 channels. My target is to have 100 applicants. My target is to have 20 businesses accelerated. And this is how we've, of course, heard of, did we meet our targets or not? This is a way for you to see if you're meeting your targets. So it's very important, in addition to the hash, that for us is enough for now, that you translate this into a number, an actual number. And of course, you're gonna, like, first time you do a pilot, you'll see if these numbers are realistic or not. You're gonna keep playing with them every year. You put more ambitious targets because you need to keep growing and improving. So number of businesses accelerated, amount of capital committed for investment. Okay, so this is input, by the way. Okay, number of channel, is it an input or an output? It's an input, okay? But number of applicants, it could be an input, but number of businesses accelerated is what? It's an output. Okay, because I already did something with them. But number of applicants is just who applied. I still didn't do any intervention yet. The amount of capital committed for investment is an input. Number of investments is an output. Okay, I hope this is clear. Annual revenue growth. Okay, if it's about me as a business, like my business or my venture, then this is an output. Maybe annual revenue growth of the businesses that I accelerated, it could be an outcome. Why? Because it doesn't have to be very short term. Okay, it could take some time for them after this program to start growing and improving. So it could be an outcome. Percentage that are profitable, also this could be an outcome. Amount of follow-on capital attracted, What do you think? Is this short term or long term or medium term? So follow on capital attracted. So definitely it's not an output, because output again is like direct. It's as soon as I finish this program, this will happen. So it takes time to attract follow on capital. So it could be outcome or even like a longer term thing. Number of jobs created, they put it as outputs. I don't know what's their plan to directly start generating jobs, but this could be an outcome as well. Okay, because also hiring people takes time. It's not like in one day you do it. Average percentage income increase. This is definitely an outcome. Change in poverty scores. What do you think the change in poverty score, is it an outcome or an impact? Is it a medium term or a long term? It's a long term, because I mean, no matter what I do now, I can't change the poverty score right away. I need time. I need a lot of time for this to show, and I need to be reaching a lot of people. Okay, so it's an impact. So it's the long-term result. Percentage of moving to more secure homes, percentage of people moving to more secure homes. This could be outcome or output. Average percentage increase in food expenditure. Also, this could be an outcome or even impact, because if their like their socioeconomic status has improved, then probably they will spend more on food. And finally, the number and type of new assets procured after the job. So also this could be either an output or an outcome, depending on how they define their program. So I hope this is clear. I'm gonna go to the next slide. Thank you for all those who were interacting on the chat. This is another canvas, okay, that we use. It's from the DIY, do it yourself. They have a lot of like interesting canvases. And by the way, I put it on Mural as an optional canvas to fill. Okay, I'll tell you why. Because honestly, I believe that, I'm gonna go back 2 slides back. I believe that this logical framework or model is a bit easier to work with, and it's a bit like more straightforward. So this is like your required one, and I'm gonna go in a bit to Mural to show you the canvases that we have prepared. But this is interesting as well, and I'm gonna tell you why. Just like I'll give you 1 minute to look at it, and maybe you can tell me the difference between this one and what we had at the beginning, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, and impact. So I'll just give you a minute to think about it, and then we can think of the differences. All right, so who would like to share with us what are the main differences? So Sabika is saying that the key assumptions that are being made, and somebody said Nisa is saying you have to do them in every phase in the theory of change. It makes it more in-depth and analytical. Yes. Okay. So guys, going back to the example of Apaya, what are the key assumptions in your opinion? Like some of them, not all of them. Like what are the things they're relying on as assumptions? Can you think of any assumptions? I'll go back just for you to see what you were talking about. So that's the Apaya example. So what are their assumptions here?
Can I answer?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe they're assuming that these poor people would be willing to want these jobs. Maybe they're content with where they are. Maybe they don't want these job opportunities, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're assuming that these people are already skilled at something, when in fact these people might need a lot of training before they can actually be part of a business and be effective. Maybe that these people can directly start working rather than thinking that maybe they have family members to support and they need someone to watch their homes while they work or train.
Exactly. So what you're mentioning, Rima, is that they have made several assumptions about the conditions, the current conditions of the poorest of the poor, and why they aren't able to progress in their business or have increased income, so on. And it is, mainly they are attributing it to lack of investment and to lack of maybe coaching. Whereas, as you're saying, maybe there could be other reasons. There could be lack of awareness. There could be other personal reasons of why they couldn't progress in their businesses, as you mentioned. So it's very important that we understand these assumptions. And at the same time, it's impossible for us to target every single person. So when you talk about the poorest of the poor, yes, this is somehow detailed or specific, yet, I mean, again, the poorest of the poor are not a few people. So we have to say, okay, and this is, by the way, part of you identifying your target group, like they are maybe hungry or thirsty for this kind of service. They are already aware. So it's to answer you, Rima. So yes, because now I know that I'm doing this assumption. So this will help me maybe narrow down my target group a bit more. And my eligibility criteria, for example, in the application that I want to create, because I need to select on some basis, I can say that they have adequate time for this. They are not going to be hindered by any personal obligations or family obligations. So it's very important to understand my assumptions, because they will help me better identify my target group and my activities as well, and my criteria, my eligibility, and so on. So these are some assumptions. Anybody has more assumptions in mind for them? It doesn't have to be at the input level, like who's applying, but it could be at the activities level, it could be at the outputs level, it could be at the outcomes level. So, I mean, for me, definitely they have big assumptions when it comes to the output level, is that as soon as this person graduates from their program, they're going to be profitable and self-sustaining and scalable enterprises. So for me, this is a bit surprising. And this is what I told you. I don't think it should be an output, because they're assuming that this is a direct a direct result, whereas in many cases it needs more time for this to be achieved. I mean, unless they have a 1-year program, and I don't know, 2-year program, like the duration of the program is long, then yes, that might be the case. I mean, I don't know how long their programs are, but in that case, it makes more sense. So their assumption is that their programs are highly effective, it's life-changing, the people who are gonna benefit from them will be totally dedicated, they will do whatever it takes to make this happen. And as you said, not all people will maybe have this full commitment, they maybe have other things, etc., etc. So it's very important to keep these assumptions in mind. So I'm gonna go back again to this slide. So what I really like about this template, although it's a bit more complex, is that first of all, it asks you one more time to define your problem really well. And you have done this already, and you're gonna see this again. in the business model canvas. So this is something we're going to always have to think about. And again, linking it back to the 3 T's, the ta'aruf, ta'awan, and tarahum, I really have to define my problem in the words of my target group, my target audience, based on ta'aruf, based on empathy, if you remember from the human-centered design phase. So when I empathize with them, I talk to them, I do a lot of interviews, I do shadowing, go there and like sit with them, talk to them, then I really know what are the exact problems they're facing. And again, ta'aruf is very important here. Who is your key audience? Okay, so again, here you have to be very specific. So I like that Ian said like 15 to 49, although this is a broad range of age, but at least they try to identify a certain age group. Maybe to start with, you want to narrow it down a bit further, because like people above 18 are different from people above 25, different from people above 35, and so on. So who is your key audience? It's very important to go as detailed as possible, especially in the beginning, guys. And I know that this is a bit difficult for you. I always fight with my students on this. Like we want to have, you know, a big impact. We want to target everybody. We want to make this available for everyone. That's great, but you can't start with everyone because you do not have the capacity. Because you are very few people, your experience is limited, your ability at first is very limited. So you have to start with a very focused group of people, and you have to identify. Yeah, that's the hard truth, Rima. And you have to identify how you're gonna reach them. Okay, so this is the third rectangle here. What's your entry point to reaching your audience? And this is where ta'awun really works. Again, like I need partnerships. I cannot reach everybody on my own. This is why many times you see in like events or conferences or programs like community partners. Who are the community partners? They are the people or the entities or the organizations which helped in communicating the message about whatever you're doing. For example, for the farmers group, you need somebody. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be an entity, organization, a ministry, to make sure that you reach the farmers. So cooperatives are a great way. For example, I mean, this in Lebanon is something that's very strong. It's like a great channel. It's a great channel to reach farmers. Cooperatives. Ministry of Agriculture could be another one. I don't know, maybe municipalities, okay, in agricultural areas or cities or villages or towns, whatever it is. So you have always to think about, how am I gonna get there? How am I gonna reach them? Okay, and as you can see, under each one is the key assumption. So what are your assumptions in terms of the problem? But if you really exercise ta'aruf, then these hopefully assumptions will not be pure assumptions anymore. They will be more grounded in truth. Who is your key audience? So again, try to narrow it down and say what your assumptions are. What's your entry point to reaching your audience? Again, have your assumptions. For example, for those who told me, yes, we're going to collaborate with the government. Like I tell you, in Lebanon, it doesn't work. Okay, but you said Jordan, so I mean, maybe you might have like better chances there. But in Lebanon, it doesn't work. So you're having a big assumption that the government will want to cooperate with you, but it won't. Okay, so then you have like a bad assumption. So you have to change something about it. What steps are needed to bring about change? So what are these, guys? If you want to think about the logical framework, I'm gonna go back for you to have a sneak peek. Which one of these is it? So what are the steps that we need to do? Which is I don't know if you can see my mouse moving. It's the activities. Okay, so what are my activities? These are the steps. Okay, what am I doing? So these are the activities. Okay, so all of these, if you want, at the very beginning, the three are more like the inputs. What's the problem? Who's the key audience? How am I going to reach them? And all the assumptions. And then what steps are needed to bring change is really the activities. What are the activities? And here I need you, like, if you're going to fill this canvas, to put each activity on a different sticky note. We don't group several activities on one. And then, as you can see, you have 3 layers of measurable effects or metrics or results, I would say. So the first one is called measurable effect of your work. The second one is called what are the wider benefits of your work. And the third one is called what's the long-term change you see as your goal. So I'm not going to go back to make you see the other one, but what have we called these 3 earlier in the logical framework? Yes, the output, the outcome, and the impact. Great. So the measurable effect of your work is the output. It's the direct, again, short term. If you want to think about it, I mean, my little brain works this way: short term, medium term, long term. Easy. Okay. So first one, measurable effect of your work is the short term, direct. The one in the middle, what are the wider benefits of your work, is the medium term. And the last one, what's the long-term change you see as your goal, is the impact. And as you can see, although we have different activities, so here, why have they broken down the measurable effects into different boxes and the wider benefits in different boxes? Because different activities might have different outputs and different outcomes. Okay, but as you can see at the end, they all go back into the same long-term change, which is my impact, which is my goal, which is my then, which is my purpose, which is my why. Okay, so this why should be based on your 3 T's: the ta'aruf, the ta'awun, tarahum, and mostly the tarahum. Like, this is how I'm like having this positive message. This is how I'm making this positive change in the world. This is where I have to think that I don't want to leave anyone behind. This is where I'm looking at maybe the less privileged, the less represented, and so on. Okay, so this is my goal. All right, so again, remember your 3 T's: the ta'awun, ta'aruf, and tarahum in the different steps. Okay, I think we're almost done with the slides, and then I'm gonna show you the mural, what we have prepared for you. So setting up a theory of change is like making a roadmap. As you could see, like we have steps, like we're moving from one to the other. Like making a roadmap that outlines the steps by which you plan to achieve your goal. It helps you define whether your work is contributing towards achieving the impact you envision, and if there's another way that you need to consider as well. I need to ask you here a question, guys, and I think the image might answer you. How often shall we look at our theory of change, or how often should we do this exercise? Is it enough to do it once when we start with our initiative? Like, now you're gonna do it one time. Do you think that's enough? And if you think it's a no, then I'll ask you why. So why, Nisa, you believe it's not enough to do it one time?
Can I try to answer?
Yes, definitely.
I believe like our theory of change is based upon assumptions. And as we apply the project, or as we start doing the projects, we find out that many of our assumptions might not have been true. Hence, we have to change accordingly and do it again and again until I think the process has reached the outcomes.
Exactly. Yes, thank you so much. So, and Sabika is saying that change is the only constant, which I agree. So basically, guys, yes, you have a lot of assumptions along the way, and this is why I really like this canvas. It makes you write them down, and after some time, when you go back to it, first of all, you will be able to see whether you are sticking to your metrics, which are the outputs, the outcomes, and the impact. But more importantly, you're going to look at your assumptions and say, oh, like, this doesn't work, so I'm going to change it. I had like this wrong assumption about this, and I know now that it doesn't work, so I'm going to change it. So it's very important that we revise this exercise. It could be once every 3 months, once every 6 months, depending on where you're at in your project. At the very beginning, I would say you will need to revisit it often because you're still planning, you're still setting like the foundation, and you're nowhere close to like results and implementation. So it's very important that you keep this in mind. So, and as you can see here in the image, like we have like you have to have a clear mission, you have to have a clear vision, you have your objectives, okay, your activities, and you have to monitor them and to check whether you are able to achieve the results that you have outlined in your logical framework. These are some resources that I found useful when I was preparing this Logic Model Development Guide from the Kellogg Foundation. It's a bit old, but it still applies very well. Theory of Change tools and training materials from theoryofchange.org and the DIY toolkit.org, which has the canvas, which I'm going to show you on the mural. So I'm going to stop sharing. Just give me a second. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna just use any example from any of the teams. So I have now team 33 open in front of me. Okay, so I'm gonna share again my screen. All right, so guys, by the way, I just want to talk a little bit about tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a guest speaker. He is a social entrepreneur. He's actually a serial social entrepreneur. His name is Samer Sfair. He's a Lebanese social entrepreneur, but his products and his initiatives are not local in nature. And now, as I was speaking with him on the phone and briefing him about tomorrow and making sure everything's all right, he told me that now they're expanding to the Arab world. He has, I'm not gonna like spoil everything, but he has, as I said, like several social enterprises. But why I invited him is that he will show you his theory of change. So he will walk you through his logical framework and he will tell you exactly how they thought about this. And I hope that you can prepare questions for him because this will help you with your mural exercise of filling your theory of change, of developing your own theory of change. So make sure you're gonna be in the session tomorrow. It's the same time, 7 p.m. Arabic Standard Time, meaning it's 6 p.m. Beirut time and 5 p.m. Morocco time, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the mural of Team 33. And again, now here we are in the implementation phase. And we are starting with the theory of change. Okay. And I have like used different tools on Mural to develop this. So this is really the logical framework, guys, which I showed you earlier and we gave an example on. And this is really what you have to fill. As you know, on Mural, you can zoom as much as you want. So don't think it's small. You can zoom as much as you want and like put as many sticky notes there. So I did some color coding for you because it would be really nice, I would say, to try to think of your 3 T's as you progress with this exercise. And again, I tried in this session to explain how the 3 T's they apply in the different cases. So again, in terms of resources and inputs, I believe that ta'aruf and ta'awun are the most relevant because resources are like they're based on what I need, okay, based on my knowledge about my target group. Again, I have to keep my target group in mind all the time. So based on what I know about them, I need to develop on what I need to make my then work. Okay, so again, if then, and my if here is in blue, my then is in green. My planned work, if I do my planned work, then I will get my intended results. Okay, so and I have here instructions for you in sticky notes, and I also color coded them. And whenever there's no green or purple or yellow or orange, it means that this is not really related to the 3 T's. And for example, here in the outputs, I put it in blue because it's never enough. And I want you to keep this in mind. It's never enough to measure my success in terms of short-term results. And this is a big, big mistake that a lot of organizations do, especially like the large organizations, the for-profit, multinationals, so on. Like they tend to measure their social responsibility in terms of outputs. Like we have paid this much money to help the poor. We have had this many hours of employee work as volunteering, but that's not enough. In order to measure your social work and impact, you have to go beyond the outputs. Okay, so it's only that I start talking about tarahum and the 3Ts is like not on the very short term, but on the medium and the longer term. So it's very important not to stop at the short term. Okay, that's why I have it in blue, because it's really not very relevant. It's just numbers, like how many US dollars you had in awards, how many people benefited from your program, how many farmers, etc. But again, this is just a short term that we cannot see any impact at this stage yet. Okay, so it's very important for you to understand this. So again, very quick recap: resources, inputs. We need human resources, we need time, money, technology, connections, partnerships. So what do you need to start your activities? Use one sticky note for each. So if I need like to build a website, I put it on one sticky note. If I need the right personnel who will create my content, I create another sticky note. And the activities, what are your different activities? Okay, you have to really break them down. And again, always think of the 3T. So this is in orange. I have to think about ta'aruf, what I know about my target customers, target groups. I have to think of ta'awun, how can I partner, collaborate in order to make this happen. And tarahum, because I mean, for us in Riyadh, for example, we started out with thinking of like the more privileged youth. Because I was teaching at AUB, I was more connected with like the more privileged youth, and I thought they are so much disconnected with like their social problems. We need to do something to make them more connected. But down the line, when we started execution, before we started our first program, I was like, but that's like, I'm not being inclusive. It's good, I mean, to make the privileged youth more connected with their social problems. But what about the less privileged youth? Don't we have an obligation towards them? Okay, and this is where, like, again, this is tarahum for me. It's like being empathetic. I thought, no, I needed different kinds of channels and a different kind of business model to bring these types of programs and activities to the less privileged too. Not just those who can afford them, but those who cannot afford them. And this is where we really innovated with our business model. We created partnerships with corporations under their CSR programs. We created sponsorship packages for philanthropists who can sponsor or support less privileged youth to be part of our programs, and so on. So you always have to think about this inclusion. Whenever it comes to the outputs, this is again the direct result, the short-term result of your activities. To quantify, again, remember the Apaya example, they had a lot of numbers. You have to have the same. So the number of farmers, the number of hours trained, the number of amount of US dollars spent on their equipment, so the number of hours maybe spent on the call center answering their calls. I don't know, it could be anything. This is the direct or short-term result. The outcome is on the longer run. Okay, so they have now like more environmental friendly practices. They started to save some water. They started to show some improvement in their yield. They started to show, I don't know, to save some money. And the impact is like more the why I'm doing this, because I want to have more environmental friendly practices. I want to have less toxics and like the vegetables and fruits that we eat. I want to have better soil conditions, better environment, whatever it is, like the impact, the long-term results. Okay, so again, here you have a description of by beneficiaries here. I use beneficiaries. I'm not sure that was like a term that you have been using here. We really mean target group. So, and just in case you wonder what beneficiaries are, they are your target group. Okay, so the people who are gonna benefit from your activities or services. So I'm just gonna look at the chat very quickly. Okay, and then the optional part, and I really urge you to do it. By the way, you have time, like you have this whole week to do this because we're starting the facilitation sessions next week. So we don't have mural facilitation sessions. And by the way, just like as a heads up, we're gonna do Zoom facilitation sessions. So be prepared for that because we want it to be a bit more interactive. So we will be working in parallel on mural and Zoom, like at the same time. So be prepared for that, guys. We're gonna send you more details about the schedule and so on, but just for you to know. So again, this is what we saw, guys, in the presentation. And again, I here tried to color code the 3 T's. And this is based on my understanding. I mean, of course, if you think like my key audience goes beyond ta'aruf, it's fine. But this is how I thought about it. What's the problem I'm trying to solve? Here's where I exercise my ta'aruf and tarahum, because as I said, it's really about thinking about inclusion and not being exclusive and so on. Ta'aruf, because you met them, you talked to them, you did a lot of research to understand better what that problem is. Don't forget your key assumptions. Who's your key audience? This is really based on ta'aruf. What's your entry point? I think you need the 3 T's here, because you need, based on ta'aruf and your empathy map, you know where these people are, what do they do, what do they see, what do they hear, so you know how they get influenced. So if they go to the gym every day, this is my favorite example, if they go to the gym every day, then you have to put some kind of ad in the gym. Okay, maybe it doesn't apply to our projects, but it's just an example. So you have to really know them well. You have to be ready to do a lot of ta'awun or collaboration and partnerships in order to be able to widen your network of reach. And of course, tarahum, because you need to reach as many people as possible within, again, I want to reach as many, but within a very limited group of people. So it's very important to distinguish this. I'm not contradicting myself here. So for example, I'm talking about, I don't know, Syrian refugees in a certain area, but I want to be able to reach a big number of them. Okay, so they have different interests, they use different apps, or they go to different supermarkets. So I have to make sure I really maximize my reachability to them. What steps are needed to bring about your change? This is the activities, and here's where you should always think of ta'awuns, like you don't do things on your own, partner, collaborate, and so on. And then here, the different measurable effects of your work. I put the 3 colored stickers because I think it's good to think of my outputs in all of these senses. So how am I doing a difference? And then when it comes to the medium and long term, we really cannot segregate between the 3 T's. It's all about, like, we're doing this change, which is based on our ta'aruf and ta'awun and tarahum. So it's this why, like, they're just orange. And what's really nice about this, if you did this, guys, is that I'm going to give you a sneak peek on the second canvas, which we're going to be talking about later on. So here, I hope you're seeing well. Let me try to zoom in a bit. Okay, 1 second. Here, this is, you don't have to do anything here. It's just like you're going to start down for your next sub phase. But I just want to give you a sneak peek. A lot of the elements or components that are in this canvas are already part of your social business model canvas, as you can see, and I have like arrows. Okay, so for example, this one is the problem. I hope you see my mouse. I don't know if you see my mouse. So the first one in the theory of change is the problem. The second one, the key audience, is my customer segments. So I had different colors for the arrows, so you see them. For example, when it comes to the entry points, This is channels, okay? This is the red arrow. When it comes to my like measurable effects, these are my key metrics here. And finally, when it comes to my impact, this is the green arrow, it's the impact here, okay? So if you do this, although it's optional, you would have done half of your social business model canvas already. All right, okay, I don't think we have time for the breakout rooms because we have 6 minutes left. However, I would really like to answer any questions you have. So are we all clear on the next steps on what you need to be doing on Mural?
Yeah.
Any questions? Anything I can help you with before you start working with your team? Okay, great. So remember, guys, always lay down your assumptions, even if you're not using the second optional canvas, which has key assumptions on it. You can maybe create your own sticky notes called assumptions, because it's very important that I understand from where I'm coming from. Because when I start executing and some things don't go according to plan, it's important to understand like why, what happened. It's probably because some of your assumptions. All right. So I think this is the theory of change is really a very, very helpful exercise that it's different. Like when we, for example, work with just, entrepreneurship or startup programs, you don't go through this. Although we can, definitely, it doesn't just apply, by the way, to social impact businesses or initiatives, but I think it's at the core of social entrepreneurship. It's at the core of having impact-driven or purpose-driven initiatives and enterprises. And this is why, like, we cannot miss it here. Like, it's impossible to do the DPCH without talking about theory of change, without asking you to develop your theory of change. So I hope you see the value there. And again, guys, always remember, have your why at the forefront. Have your like purpose, why you're doing this at the beginning. Because again, this is different. Like if I'm talking to my pre-accelerator program students at AUB, we might not focus that much on the why, although it is also important, okay? But because they have other things as well. But in your case, when you're talking, let's say to an impact investor, I hope you know what that means. So in impact-driven businesses, if you built a scalable startup, a social startup, and you need some investment, you will not go to the regular venture capitalist or the VC. You will go to what we call an impact investor. And for that, impact investors, because, I mean, based on their name, they care mostly about impact. Yes, they do gain about return on investment and so on, but they also care about the impact. This has to be at the center of your story. All right, and it's not just in terms of the problem, because most of us, we already know these problems, but it's about your end goal and how you envision to change the problem. How do you envision to really disrupt, okay, the current situation and create a different case? So this is why we focus a lot on the why. This is why you really have to understand your impact. I hope that the if-then exercise helped you with that. And again, it will really help you with developing your theory of change, because if you remember the logical framework, we had the planned work and the intended results, and your if is your planned work and your then is your intended results. So any questions? All right, I hope you enjoyed the session. Sorry if I picked up on some of you, but I had to do this to make it a bit more interactive. I hate to hear myself talking for like 2 hours. Okay, great. So if you have any questions, you can definitely mention me on the on your private channels. We might add one of the other team members to the private channels as well on Slack. And of course, we will be having this one-on-one facilitation session, which is, again, as I said, on Zoom and Mural at the same time next week. And it's going to be Riada and No Box Lab at the same time. And we're still figuring out the best way to do it. And we're going to be telling you more details very soon. And please do not forget tomorrow's guest speaker, and he will be applying the theory of change to his own social enterprises, which have kicked off. They are, very successful. The results are amazing so far. It's very impactful. So it will be a great showcase of a real social enterprise and how they applied the theory of change. All right. So we'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.